Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our July webinar. My name is Michelle Hahn, and I am the Program Manager for HealthLinks. And I love joining everybody on these monthly sessions to share some hot topics with you, the latest research, or give some updates on HealthLinks and what's happening. And today, I'm very excited to have a presentation on movement every hour. We're joined by Liz Young, who is a wonderful person and very passionate in everything that she does. She's a certified health coach, a certified nutritionist, a personal trainer, and in her spare time when she's not coaching, she also is a group exercise instructor and the owner of her own coaching company called Forever Young Coaching. So Liz is going to take us through her presentation today, but before I hand it over to her, I just wanted to give some basic housekeeping updates. So we're going to keep everybody on mute during the session to avoid any problems with sound. So if you have a question, there is a question box in your control panel that you can type in there, and I'll be keeping track of all of the questions throughout the session today. And at the very end, we'll leave time for Liz to respond to all of them. We are also recording this session, so if you know that you have coworkers or other people that were not able to join you today, but they were very interested in the topic, we host those on our HealthLinks website. Under the Worksite Wellness tab, you'll see all of our past webinars listed there. So feel free to go explore those and share those with anybody you would like. And Liz will have a couple of handouts for us today that will be sent in a follow-up email along with a PDF of her slides so that you can have her contact information and get in touch with her and have access to all of the information she's sharing with us today. So again, if you have any questions, please just type them in the question box in the control panel, and we'll make sure there's time at the end to address them. With that, Liz, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle, and hello to everyone who is online, and thanks for that great introduction, Michelle. Yes, my name is Liz Young, and a little bit about me is I am a Colorado native. Did my bachelor's at CSU in Human Development and Family Studies. Did my master's degree at CU in counseling. So I'm part Ram, part Buffalo. So if we have any fans of the Colorado schools, I'm a little of both. Like Michelle said, I'm a certified wellness coach, a certified personal trainer, a sports nutritionist, and also a USA Triathlon Level 1 coach. So if you've not totally familiar with the word triathlon, or if you've heard of it but not sure what it is, it's the sport where you swim, bike, and run. So within my own company, Forever Young Coaching, I coach clients on all of these topics. My clients are people from anywhere from someone who's severely obese, a client who is looking to lose half their body weight, to athletes. I recently coached a couple people for the Boulder Half Ironman, and they all did great. I love working with beginners, and part of my story that I'll share with you as well is that's me overcoming a lot of health obstacles and being unathletic, things like that. So I just love, my passion is working with clients who are just wanting to get started and eager to become healthier. With that, my own childhood, I was a normal kid, you know, normal family type thing, but I was a band geek, as in I went to band camp for 4 years in high school. Total music band nerd, didn't do anything athletic. I had doctor's notes to get out of anything and everything athletic. So I was full of excuses why I could not exercise. I had doctors proving that I really couldn't. So it wasn't until college, out of curiosity, that a friend asked me to go for a run. And I truly said, well, what do you do? And I kind of motioned with my right arm and right leg, and then left arm, left leg. Like, how do you work your arms and legs? And she thought I was kidding and said, are you kidding? What's skipping? You just run, you just go. So part of my story as well is it wasn't until I was in college that I began to exercise. And I tried this thing called running, and I went around the block, and that was a big deal. And then I grew to a few blocks to a mile. Then I did a 5K, and that was just a huge milestone for me to be able to do a 5K. And it grew. This curiosity grew. And in my 20s, I began to do triathlon, and that was kind of a bucket list. I just want to cross this off the list. I've heard of it. You know, it's popular in Colorado. Everyone does triathlon. That's just what you do. So in my 20s, I was curious. I tried that, and this curiosity grew from the bucket list thing of just want to cross it off the list to I ended up being coached as well, and then went into coaching, but I'm a 3-time Ironman finisher. So if you've heard of Ironman, it's a race where you swim 2.4 miles, you bike 112, and then you run for dessert, I call it, you run a marathon after that. So I'm a 3-time Ironman finisher, done a handful of half Ironmans, which is half that distance. And in the last year or two, have gotten my curiosity has drawn me to bodybuilding, which if you could see me, I'm not that big of a person, but I'm just so curious to try it. So my fitness has really changed my life. And so my passion is connecting mental health to physical health. And the reason I took time to share that with all of you is that that's my story, is in overcoming and someone who is unathletic, things like that. And so I love working with people who have a similar journey, or athletes, like I mentioned, working with people who are already fit and then taking them to the next level. So with that, we're going to get rolling with our today's presentation. So again, thanks for taking time out of your lunch hour to join me for this, for Movement Every Hour. We're going to be talking about the buzzword right now, if you've heard the phrase, sitting is the new smoking. So we'll touch on that, and Dr. James Levine will talk about him. That quote you see on your screen, our DNA has absolutely not changed in the past 30 years. Our environment has. Pretty powerful. Game plan today, the goal is to talk till about 12:45, or about 45-50 minutes. And like Michelle said, please be typing in your questions or writing those in. And at the end, I'd love to have you ask questions, and also we'll have a little bit of a discussion too. But please be sure to type those in. And also during today's presentation, I encourage you to think of how this information applies to you. It could be personally or professionally. And we all know once something is relatable and it hits home with you, you're more apt to use it or understand it or share it. And that's what this is meant to do. I just want you to take this information, use it how you can, and share it. So I just encourage you to see how you can relate it to your own health. So today's plan, we're going to talk about the phrase, sitting is the new smoking. If anyone is a clock watcher, that's me. I always want to know, how long is this going to take? I'm going to give you a ton of statistics. I've tried to narrow it down. I cut out a lot, actually, down to about 5 minutes of statistics, things that are pretty interesting about the risks associated with being sedentary. We're going to talk about ideas of how to encourage your clients or other people you work with, coworkers, your colleagues who are unwilling or unable to exercise. And also for yourself, getting some new ideas of how to do that and how to be active during your workday. We're also going to touch on why stairs are a great way to increase movement in your day. And we're going to do a 5-minute deskercise workout. And don't worry, you're not going to sweat. I'm going to guide you through it during this webinar. So you'll hear my voice and instructions of how to do it, and it will be pretty fun. And again, questions at the end. If anyone is a fan of The Office and Steve Carell, I just thought this is really a fun picture, and I've got some other fun little comics or things spread throughout this presentation. But love this one with Steve Carell. If you need to get some movement during your workday, that bottom left side is pretty funny too. Every time Kevin says or does something stupid, 10 calf raises. When Dwight says something weird, 10 squats. You can just kind of glance over that, but fun little way to get moving while at work. So in your mind, it's not like a classroom environment where you can toss out ideas of what you think, but in your mind, what do you think? What is the single biggest threat to workforce productivity, as well as healthcare affordability and quality of life? Any guesses? What could it be? Chronic disease, single biggest threat. What is the annual cost of fatigue per employee? Any guesses? What could it be? Nearly $2,000 per employee per year. What percentage of adults will be diagnosed with a chronic disease in their lifetime? Any guesses? Are you thinking 10%, 20%, high end, 80%? What do you think? 50%, that's right. 1 out of 2 people will be diagnosed with a chronic disease in their lifetime. What is the cost of obesity and chronic diseases to employers? Well, we know it's high, right? How high do you think it could be? Up to $93 billion per year in health insurance claims. That is astronomical. What is the cost of obesity, including medical expenditures for absenteeism? That's a good question. What could it be? What do you think? Estimated at $277,000 per year for a company with over 1,000 employees. That is a huge expense to companies. Here's a bunch of statistics, a lot of writing for you, but what I want to draw your attention to as we read through this infographic here is how sitting all day is shortening your lifespan. So I know you all can read, but I do want to just point out the top right section. After 2 hours of sitting, your whole body experiences a 20% drop in good cholesterol. Just 1 calorie per minute is burned, probably. We're going to talk about the next 2 more bullets down, but how your risk of diabetes and other chronic disease increases, things like that. We will definitely delve into that. What I do want to draw attention to as well, the number of hours makes all the difference. A study conducted by the American Cancer Society tracked the health of 123,000 Americans for more than 2 decades and found a correlation between time spent sitting and an increased death rate. These results were based on 6 or more hours of sitting compared to 3 hours or less sitting. And as you can see, for men, that is a 20% higher death rate, and for women, a 40% higher death rate. And now I'm going to continue on with your statistics lesson today and give you a little more research about the phrase sitting is the new smoking. Outside of regularly scheduled exercise sessions, active people sit just as much as their non-active peers. When I found this, when I did some research, I was really on alert, like, that's me, that's me. So if anyone is thinking that, nod to yourself in agreement. In a study in 2012, a 2012 study published in the International Journal of Behavioral Nutrition and Physical Activity, researchers reported that people spent an average of 64 hours a week sitting, 28 hours standing, and 11 hours milling about doing non-exercise walking. This is whether or not they exercise the recommended 30 minutes per day, 5 days per week. That's more than 9 hours a day of sitting, no matter how active the others otherwise were. Dr. Mark Hamilton is a professor and director of the Inactivity Physiology Department at Pennington Biomedical Research Center. Dr. Hamilton said, "We were very surprised that even the highest level of exercise did not matter squat for reducing time spent sitting. In fact," and this is where I read this and found myself to be quite like me, "in fact, regular exercisers may make less of an effort to move outside of their designated workouts." Another research study from the American College of Sports Medicine said that people are about 30% less active overall in days when they exercise versus days when they don't hit the gym. Maybe they think they've worked out enough for one day, but experts agree that most people simply aren't running or walking or even just standing enough to counteract all of the harm that can result from sitting 8, 9, or 10 hours a day. Dr. Hamilton continued on by saying, "Your body is designed to move. Sitting for an extended period of time causes your body to shut down at the metabolic level. So when your muscles, as in your leg muscles, are sedentary and sitting, your circulation slows down. So you use less of your blood sugar and you burn less fat, which increases your risk of heart disease and diabetes." And just a little more research for you, so hang in there. Another study published by the American Journal of Epidemiology reports that a man who sits more than 6 hours a day has an 18% increased risk of dying from heart disease and has a 7.8 increased chance of dying from diabetes compared to someone who sits for 3 hours a day or less. Heart disease and diabetes are not the only health hazards of being inactive. The American Institute for Cancer Research now links prolonged sitting with increased risk of both breast and colon cancers. Dr. Neville Owen is head of the Behavioral Epidemiology Laboratory at Australia's Baker Heart and Diabetes Institute. He said, "Sitting time is emerging as a strong candidate for being a cancer risk factor in its own right. Emerging evidence suggests that the longer you sit, the higher your risk. It also seems that exercise won't compensate for too much sitting." And our last statistics, according to the Alberta Health Services Cancer Care Centre in Canada, inactivity is linked to nearly 50,000 cases of breast cancer, over 43,000 cases of colon cancer, over 37,000 cases of lung cancer, and over 30,000 cases of prostate cancer each year. Are you scared straight out of your chair? Those are scary statistics, I hope so. So the remedy and the cure is as simple as standing up and taking activity breaks. Dr. Stuart McGill is the director of Spine Biomechanics Laboratory at the University of Waterloo. He says that interrupting your sedentary time as often as possible and making frequent posture changes is important. He said that even as breaks as short as 1 minute can improve your health. So there is your crash course in statistics about the risks and research associated with being sedentary, which is the focal point of movement every hour. For those of you that have standing workstations, or if you're familiar with standing workstations, here's some statistics. Basically, people that are using standing workstations, you can see the statistics. 80% felt more energized, more comfortable. 75% felt overall healthier. Again, it increases your focus, your productivity. All of the people, 100% felt better. A reduction in fatigue and a reduction in pain. So there's a lot of research about increased productivity as well as mental focus when you are getting up and moving regularly. 3 S's, which is something I hope that you can, again, relate to you. So as I'm sharing this, I really hope you can imagine, well, what would this look like during my workday? What could this look like at home when you're watching your favorite TV show? Or how about, I did a lunch and learn on this topic yesterday and a great idea came out, how about during football games or other sporting events where you're watching them on TV at home on the couch with friends? Great ways to introduce the 3 S's is how you can use this and apply to you. So the 3 S's are sit, stand, and stretch. You can customize this and do this simple little routine however you want. It's great on an individual level or also in meetings, presentations, and classes. You can customize it to the length of whatever meeting or presentation you're in, and it's important to note that the standing and stretch segments are not breaks. So what it looks like for today's presentation, and we're almost at the 12:20 mark, so I'm going to go ahead and use this opportunity to have you guys stand. So wherever you're sitting or listening in, tuning in, go ahead and stand up. I've got my timer set. So typically what I do in presentations like this, you sit for the first 20 minutes. So we're coming up on 12:20. So you've sat for the first 20 minutes. Now we're going to stand for 5 minutes, and my alarm is going to chime after that. I've got it set. And then we're going to stretch for 5 minutes. So I do want to clarify that your stand break, you're simply standing. Say that, when you talk on the phone and you're just kind of standing there, things like that, or just simply standing. The stretch break, it could also be similar to what, say you're at Target and you're at the cashier line and it's taken forever. Typically, most people, when they stand for long periods of time, they start to sway, or they kind of move feet, they kind of shift their hips, things like that. So the stretch, of course, it can be hands over your head, rotating your torso, things like that, but it's also meant to be a way to just get some blood flow going. So I'd encourage you during the stand break, you could just march in place lightly, get your feet moving, things like that. And then when the 5-minute stretch piece comes up, you could kind of roll your shoulders, you could rotate your torso. This is great to do in meetings because it's not a distraction. And again, something I want to clarify as well, that the stand and stretch, it's not getting away from the topic at hand or the discussion or the presentation, things like that. So yeah, hope you're enjoying that. So standing for the next, I got my alarm clock going on, less than 4 minutes, and then we'll move on to the stretch. And I'll alert you when my chime goes off. Again, yeah, we talked about that. It increases mental focus and productivity. And I would challenge you, so the next time you're in a staff meeting or department meeting, to try this stand stretch. You can do it in any time segment you want, whatever works for you. I was taking a 3-day course, a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 hours a day. And before the class started, I approached the instructor on the side and shared this with him real quick, real short and easy, and again said, hey, please know this is not meant to be a distraction, the stand and stretch part, and he loved it. So for 3 days, I was a clock watcher, and I kept everyone on track with when to stand, when to stretch, when to sit, all those things. But yes, I encourage you to try this. Dr. James Levine is the doctor who coined the term sitting is the new smoking. He's the director of the Mayo Clinic at Arizona State University in the Obesity Solutions Initiative, and he invented the treadmill desk. Dr. Levine said sitting is more dangerous than smoking. It kills more people than HIV and is more treacherous than parachuting. We are sitting ourselves to death. Another reason the smoking analogy is relevant is that studies have repeatedly shown the effects of our long-term sitting are not reversed through diet, exercise, or other good habits. Sitting like smoking is very, very clearly bad for our health, and the only way to minimize the risk is to limit the time we spend on our bottoms each day. Dr. Levine wrote a couple books, and at the end of this, you'll see my the books that I talk about in today's presentation and some other resources for you as well. One of the books he wrote is NEAT, Non-Exercise Activity Thermogenesis. He did a really cool study in which, back in 1999, so over a period of 2 months, he took a group of people and he found out what they needed to just keep their weight the same, basically their metabolic function he figured out, and you know too. Say you have a 150-pound woman and a 200-pound man bodybuilder guy. You know that those two people have different needs to just maintain their current weight. So what he did is he figured that out and then overfed them an extra 1,000 calories per day. And what he studied was, how come? Why did some people pack on the pounds and why some people didn't? And in this study, he prohibited exercise. That was not allowed. So what he found was the people who didn't gain weight, they simply moved more. They could get up to go to the bathroom, they could take the stairs, they could go get water, they could get up and move. And that's exactly what it is, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So pretty interesting. In that last bullet, the people who gained weight sat on average 2 hours more per day than those who hadn't. Pretty interesting. Love this picture. Hopefully some of you are laughing. Who relates to this and who feels this way? I'd rather enter a coma than a gym. I would encourage you to use, whether it's you yourself or you have clients, coworkers, or friends who are resistant to exercising, use the term movement. It's much less, it's more easily digestible, less threatening than the word exercise. I have a dear friend who seriously has anxiety around the word exercise. She cannot stand the word. She has really struggled with exercise. She's always hated it. She's always felt like a failure. So when we talk about it, I use the word movement, or activity is another word you could use. I also use the word focus instead of goal. So that language we use, depending on its clients or you yourself or friends or family, oh, there's the timer in case you can hear it through the microphone. So you've been standing for 5 minutes now. Now for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to ask you to stretch. So that could be simply, rotating your torso, put your hands over your head, rotate your shoulders, maybe do some arm circles, whatever feels good. Do a little head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Get some blood circulation. So you can do that in the beauty of wherever you are tuning in, and I will continue the presentation. So again, just to say the word focus as opposed to goal, or movement instead of exercise, it's less non-threatening. To remember to get up and move every hour, I would encourage you to set alarms. So I'm using my cell phone today, my cell phone alarm clock, to keep track of our minutes for our sit, stand, stretch. And you could also use the kitchen timer if you work from home, or if you're tuning in from work, you probably have features in your email server where you could do tasks or things like that to set an alarm. If you do work from home, another idea is to use an alarm clock in a bedroom furthest from your house and turn it up loud so you can hear it and have that go off. And whether you do every hour, every 30 minutes, but the point is it to be a nuisance. So you actually have to get up and turn it off. And for me, that's my kitchen alarm, because I hate the buzz on either the oven or the microwave. That beeping is just a nuisance. So the point is to have it go off so that you have to get up and move each hour. So that's one way to remember it. Another piece I'd like you to consider, whether you do or don't use a standing workstation, there's a lot of ways you can incorporate this. You could do it at your own desk or with a standing workstation. And so this person in the picture, that's not me, but I have a very similar setup. And with this, I am the queen of resourceful. I love a good deal. There's nothing more than I love than a bargain. So at my local Goodwill, I found a treadmill, and even better than a Goodwill treadmill, I got it on a half price day. So I scored big on a pretty good treadmill. And what I bought is the surf shelf, and a client of mine told me about it. There's a lot of features, there's a lot of accessories similar to this, but my setup is kind of like the woman in the photo there. So basically it's a little attachment, and it sits on my treadmill. You can also take it to the gym. You could use it on the elliptical machine or the stationary bike, but it's a little accessory so your laptop or your computer can sit on it while you keep working. With the treadmill desk, how it works for me is I have a very slow pace. Basically, my feet are very slowly moving. It's not a brisk walk. It's not a speedy walk. It's simply movement. And I will tell you that that sense of movement while working is such a wonderful sense of productivity. And of course, I take breaks. There's times I do get excited to sit down, but it's really neat how many steps you can get in just simple movement of doing that. So going back to the 3S's, I'm encouraging you to think about this. When can you try this? When can you begin this? Things like that. So also with your employer, I'd encourage you to think about if you can look at purchasing a standing desk, if that's possible, a standing workstation, if there is a budget for it, and also to speak to them about that. And I would also encourage you to speak to your Human Resources Department before doing any of these tricks. These are do-it-yourself tricks to making your own standing workstation. But the reason I, of course, highly recommend you talk to Human Resources first is so you don't hurt your back or anything like that. Because as you can see from the picture on the top right, looks like a hardwood floor. So if you were to stand on that all day, that really could hurt your back and your neck and things like that. So you definitely want to get permission and get some ideas of how else you could make that a healthy work environment. That picture on the top left is on some file cabinets. Again, workplace safety. Let's make sure this is safe. And the bottom left, I know that's not quite as clear, but I liked it because I've done similar things at home before I got my treadmill desk, where the laptop is on top of a box on the table. And yeah, I've done stuff like that from home. So just being creative is how you could create your own standing workstation. I love this graphic. Sorry I didn't have the social skills to communicate with you when the office internet was down. Hopefully some of you are laughing. Does that sound familiar? I would also encourage you to look at communicating in person within your office. So another way to get steps and movement is when your alarm clock goes off each hour, every 30 minutes, whatever you decide that works for you. During that time, be writing your questions down of your other coworkers or teammates of who you have questions for. And when the alarm goes off, ask them in person. Avoiding your email, your instant messaging, or the phone. And as you know, I'm sure you can relate to this, when you email a coworker who's, down the hall about a question, and you end up sending multiple emails back and forth about the same topic. There's the timer again if you can hear it. All right, so go ahead and have a seat. You completed the 3 S's. You sat and you did some standing and you also stretched. So nice work with that. So go ahead and have a seat. Or of course, if you want to continue standing, absolutely do that. Going back to that last bullet is that it is a time saver. When you talk to people in person, you can really communicate things a lot clearer than when you send multiple emails back and forth. Another tip, this is one of my favorite ones, is stand when speaking on the phone. And a little joke I have too with my other clients is your phone will not work unless you're standing. And so I'm sure a lot of you too as well, when you're on the phone or conference calls, you pace, or maybe you just kind of march in place, things like that, but try to create that pairing. So a pairing would be when your phone rings, you stand, or when you have a conference call, you stand, things like that. So I love that pairing, is your phone only works when you're standing. Another fun picture for you. Thanks for calling to tell me that you just sent me an email. I had this happen earlier this week and I laughed because I was thinking of this picture. I'm sure some of you can relate to that, so hopefully you're getting a little laugh. I would encourage you as well to challenge your team or your department, your coworkers, for 2 weeks of no technology. How could this improve your workplace relationships? By talking in person. Many years ago, I used to work on cruise ships. I did the kids club. And the kids club was up on deck 14, or the top of the ship. It was this massive ship. And our cruise director implemented this policy. And so this is kind of where I got the idea for this as well. And so my boss in the kids club, when she had to talk to the cruise director, who was her boss, and other people across the ship, she literally had to go up and down probably about 7 flights of stairs, 7 or 8, to ask questions, things like that. So she started to kind of write her notes down and compile everything and then go see him in person. So they said no technology, no phones, no instant messaging, no emails, unless it was, things that need to be documented, of course, things like that. But it was really neat how it improved that team. And the same was true for our whole team. So we couldn't do any technology. It was really neat. So that was my inspiration for that. Here's another funny little picture for you. How Nicole will stay active during the day. She could walk to the bathroom and awkwardly blow her nose if someone is in there and repeat it 5 times. Nicole could walk around the office many times, or see how many times it takes before the receptionist calls human resources. Now, I do not recommend this because it's killing a lot of trees, but she could print 52 sheets of paper at various printers around the office and repeat it 25 times. But the last one on the bottom right, I have done this just for a joke with coworkers. Walk outside claiming I forgot something in my car, come back inside, and then what I did is I said, oh, I forgot I didn't drive today, I rode my bike. So that's a fun one. Oh, and then repeat it, of course. So a fun way to have a little teasing with your coworkers. So considerations for meetings and presentations, like I said earlier, is the 3 S's are great. You could initiate also walking meetings. I would really enjoy hearing in our discussion at the end, for those of you that already do implement some of these things, I would love to hear from those of you that work for companies or have colleagues or other associates that do walking meetings. I would love to hear you chime in. And again, we've talked about the 3 S's. These numbers are great. It's basically comparing the calories you burned, typically things you do sitting, versus calories you'd burn if you were to pick up the pace. So just as you kind of compare those columns, for example, that first one is park by the building, take the elevator, 15 calories. So you park a few blocks away and then take the stairs, 80 to 100 calories burned. Going back to the phone piece, if you were to make calls from your desk sitting for an hour, that's about 15 calories sitting, just sitting. How about standing up to take phone calls or pacing? About 100 calories in the hour. A typical lunch that you have with colleagues or even at your desk, sitting could be 25 minutes. How about if you did a 30-minute walk and then sit for 15 minutes to eat? That'd be about 100 calories. And again, these are all relative depending on your height and weight, your body composition, things like that. How about a seated 1-hour meeting? Now, some of these numbers are a little bit conflicting because this number does say 15. This is from Dr. James Levine, his book. You can see at the bottom there, Move a Little, Lose a Lot, 15, where other research says you burn about 1 calorie per minute, which would be 60 calories. So a little bit of a discrepancy, but the purpose is to show the difference. The difference could also be a 1-hour walking meeting could be at least 150 calories. How about taking the elevator to the ground floor and walk home and drive home at the end of the day? 15 calories. How about you take the stairs and walk back to your car? So over the course of the day, you're looking at between 500 and 700 calories difference. That's huge, huge, and just for incorporating a little bit of movement during your day. Some of these things you may already be familiar with about taking the stairs. They may be things you're already aware of, but just a little bit of more numbers and reasons to remind yourself to get up and take the stairs. I've got the top 10 reasons to take the stairs. Our first reason, 2/3 of your life is spent at work. That is a ton of time. So let's figure out how we can incorporate activity, as in the stairs, into your work routine. Taking the stairs is a great way to prevent health problems, such as that are related to inactivity, which we talked about, those things related to chronic disease. Taking the stairs, and we'll touch on this in a little bit too, it improves cardiovascular function and also strengthens and tones up your leg muscles. If any of you have ever done the stair climber at the gym or the stair stepper, those are hard. Or for those of you that are hikers, when you go straight up the mountain or straight up the hill, that is work. Our third reason is it improves your heart health. It can lower your bad cholesterol and raise your good cholesterol. It's great to relieve tension and stress that can have adverse effects on your heart health, and it can lower your risk of hypertension and other diseases associated with heart health. Our fourth reason, out of our 10 reasons to take the stairs, a Harvard study determined that men who averaged climbing 8 flights of stairs a day had a lower death rate than men who averaged a daily 1.3-mile walk. Wow, interesting. So 8 flights of stairs compared to a 1.3-mile walk has a lower death rate? That was interesting, huh? And it can reduce the risk of injury. It increases your muscle strength and power. And we touched on that as well. Improves your overall health and decreases your risk for different types of ailments. If you do have knee problems, arthritis, or any other health concerns, absolutely check with your doctor first. Taking the stairs is a time and energy saver. When you travel in buildings with 5 to 7 floors, it's typically always faster to take the stairs than waiting for the elevator. Taking the stairs is a green activity, meaning that the only energy source is what is in our bodies. It's good for you and the environment. Number 6, taking the stairs is a free workout. You don't need a gym membership. Great for people who travel because all hotels have stairs. And you don't need any equipment. And bonus for you ladies that you wear high heels, you'll burn even more calories in your high heels because it takes a little bit more balance and coordination. So if you're comfortable with that, I recommend even doing the stairs in your heels because it's a great thing for your balance and coordination. Our 8th reason is it requires no special skill. You have become an expert at the stairs. You've been doing this all but 1 year of your life. Our 9th reason is it fulfills the recommendation for exercise. And health experts advise at least 30 minutes of cardiovascular exercise per day. And so this can easily fulfill that. So small amounts. So say you were to do 5 minutes of stairs 6 times a day, that fulfills your recommended daily amount of exercise. So don't ever disregard small amounts of exercise. That can be a great way to get on your daily amount of exercise. And our 10th reason is to take the stairs is it burns crazy calories. Just over 52 flights of stairs is equal to the distance of 1 mile. Climbing the stairs is twice as much exercise as walking on a flat surface. So the same amount of time slowly climbing the stairs burns 2 to 3 times as many calories as walking fast on a flat surface. Based on a 150-pound person, you can burn about 0.17 calories for every step you climb. So about 1.5 calories for every 10 upward steps. And it's great for balance and coordination that we talked about. And descending stairs is extra credit, is what I like to call it. So you'll burn about 0.05 calories for each stair descended. So about 1 calorie for every 20 steps down. So next up, we are going to do your 5-minute office workout. It is called deskercise, if you've ever heard that phrase. Deskercise is exercising at your desk. And I love this picture at the bottom. Your office workouts are starting to freak people out. Hopefully, you will freak out your coworker in this. I'm going to walk you through this with my voice, and I'm not going to be watching the clock. We're not going to do this for the full minute, but what I want to do is give you examples of what this could look like. So as I mentioned earlier, my clients that I work with are people from the severely obese to athletes performing at a pretty competitive level. So with that, I know that I'm speaking to you all are probably in the same boat. And whether you're recovering from an illness or injury, you still need to go within your range of motion. So light jumping jacks, of course, you could do a traditional jumping jack like you used to do in gym class when you were a kid. But a more simple version that I do if it's a work day and I'm dressed up and I don't want to get sweaty is simply and stand up with me so that you can kind of do this alongside with me. And if you are in an office, you can start to freak people out starting now. So basically, you're standing up. If you take your right foot and step and touch to the right. So your left foot stays still, step, touch to the right, take your right arm and follow along with that. So your right arm is just going, say, shoulder height. You could just raise and lower your right arm and right leg. A step touch with your foot, and your arm is just going shoulder height. Now another option is, and I can already tell in my speech because I'm doing that while I'm talking to you. Anytime you can have a harder time or be challenged talking, maintaining the conversation while you're exercising, that means you're working, which if you start hearing me huffing and puffing, that means it's working. So with that, another option is for a jack. Anytime your hand is above your head or your arms are above your head, your heart rate is going to be increased. So another light jumping jack would be, again, a step touch. So I'm using my right leg, just do a step touch, step out to the right, and then back in together, feet together. Basically, I'm going to take that right arm and raise it all the way over my head. So I'm doing my step touch, and my arm is flowing all the way along with it, up and down, up high, and then back down to the side of my body. So that's one way to do jacks. And anything you do, and you'll see this too, we're going to do symmetrical. So if you do light jacks for 30 seconds, I would encourage you to do either 15 seconds on your right side and then 15 on your left, but just make it symmetrical. The next piece we're going to do is squats. And I love squats, and I'm going to assume that you don't know the proper form for a squat. And so I'm going to take you through that real quickly. So again, if you're in your office, I expect you to be doing this alongside with me, looking like the crazy person in your office. So assuming you have a traditional office chair, what I want you to do is come out just a little bit from your office chair. And as you squat back, you could do a simple thing, as in you're sitting back in your chair and then standing up. And try to challenge yourself without using your hands. The purpose is to build strength in your legs. And the form for a squat is your feet are just a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. Both toes are pointed forward just slightly out as well, just a little bit. And as you come back and as you are about to sit back in your chair, your glutes are coming straight back. And so the proper form that I teach when I'm instructing exercise classes is a little bit of a joke, and it's also serious, is I say the form for a squat is similar to a porta potty. That's right, a porta potty. Because the porta potty is something you don't want to touch and you don't want to miss. Hopefully you all are laughing right now. So again, just that imagery is a joke, so just work with me on that. But as you lower down to your chair, so do that with me, we'll do 5 together. As you're lowering down, your glutes are going straight back, your chest is high, your head is still high, and you can either come to your chair, just tap it with the top of your bottom and rise back up, or if you haven't done squats ever before and this is challenging or you're recovering from an illness or injury, then sit down, and if you need to use your hands to get back up, you could do that too. But again, I would challenge you not to use your hands. Use your legs to do the work. Next, your lunges. So I'm assuming as well, if you haven't done lunges for a while or these are new to you, you're going to stand with your feet together. And with your feet together, you're going to step forward with one foot. So both feet are pointed forward, toes are in line with each other, pointing forward, and you're just going to lower. And it could be a few inches, or it could be to a 90-degree angle with your front and back leg. So again, keeping in mind your current range of motion and level of fitness, it may only be a few inches, and that's great. That's totally fine. But with lunges, you're just going to come down a few inches and rise back up with your left leg. You could also do this with water bottle curls. Oh, excuse me, I missed the squat. I'll come back to that in just a moment. With water bottle curls, so taking just a simple water bottle in your hand, and this could be different. This could be your typical 16.9 ounce water bottle, or if you have a big Nalgene that is actually 32 ounces. That's a big difference in weight. Those are twice as much as the 16.9 ounce water bottles. But just to get a little bit more movement in your arms, you're curling. So literally you're holding the water bottle in your arm and you're raising it up. And if you think of a hammer, of how you have a hammer in, it's that motion. You're just simply lowering it down and then back up. I do want to speak to the row that I missed before on the squats. A challenge option would be to row. So when you think of a rowboat, it's a very similar motion. So with your hands at your sides, you're going to extend them out in front of you, and a row would be your elbow is just grazing your side as you row back. So when you think of, again, like on a kayak or a canoe, that motion of rowing, similar thing, but your arms are going to graze along your side as you row back. You're pressing your shoulder blades together. So if your friend were to or coworker were to place their arms on your upper back, you would be squeezing your shoulder blades to pinch their finger if you could. That's the motion you want, is you're squeezing your shoulder blades. So that would be the row option and the previous one I described. So now I'm back to that fourth bullet. The slow squats again in your office chair, and the challenge option this time would be with a ream of paper. A ream of paper I think is 8 or 10 pounds, but it's a great object because it's a little bit heavy and it's an easy object to grab, and you could press those right over your head, which is working your shoulders. So far we've touched on a large muscle groups. Squats and lunges are awesome for your lower body. Those work your quads, your hamstrings, and even a little bit of your calves. Those are awesome. And then, so lunges and squats work those. Rows is for your back, and then overhead press is your shoulders. Water bottle curls is for your biceps. So you've done pretty much almost a full body workout. We're missing a few other muscle groups, but considering it's an office workout, that is pretty good. So then, after the squats, you would go back into your right lunges. We want everything to be symmetrical. Same as before with curls. And then I call stretching, that's what I call dessert. So, because it's the best part. Save the best for last. So the airplane stretch I love because it's what you can do on an airplane. So you could reach your arms to the front and imagine again, say you're on an airplane and there's a screaming toddler in front of you. You're pressing as hard as you could to that seat to relax yourself. Reach your arms up high as if you were going to turn on the AC in the airplane. Reach them high, and then side to side. So rotating your torso. Great way to meet your neighbor if you're on the airplane. And last but not least, reach your arms behind you. That should feel pretty good. So there's your 5-minute deskercise workout. I have a PDF of this, and so Michelle will send this out to you all following today's presentation. In that, there's pictures, so you can see me doing these exercises and demonstrating them, so you can take it and do it on your own. And there's also, too, deskercise is a great buzzword. There's a ton of stuff on YouTube and online, so if you just Google that word or do a quick search, you will pull up a lot of things for deskercise. Sources I used, a couple of books by Dr. James Levine. Here we go, is Get Up, Why Your Chair is Killing You and What You Can Do About It, and Move a Little, Lose a Lot. So 2 books that I enjoyed reading of his. So I would love for you to think of today, what can you begin today starting at your desk? Or how about even your home life? The example I shared earlier about a person in my lunch and learn yesterday, she's like, oh my gosh, the next sporting game we watch, on the weekend, there's a ton of stuff we could do related to this, watching the next game, that typically we sit on the couch the whole time. Or if you're on a team or in a department, which of these things could you try starting today? Not tomorrow, start today. So I encourage you to think about those. A little bit about me again. I said the name of my company is Forever Young Coaching. July is celebrating my 2nd anniversary of my small business, and all my coaching packages are 10% off. And my website is at the bottom there, Forever Young Coaching. If you are in the Denver metro area, I am working with a couple athletes for a sprint triathlon, which is about a half-mile swim, a 12-mile bike ride, and then a 5K. I'm calling it Race the Coach, but in a really fun, non-competitive way. But it is a triathlon in Boulder on August 25th, so if that interests you, just feel free to contact me. And I would just encourage you to think of, what area would you like to improve? Okay, next, what's it going to take to begin making improvements? And when would you like to take the first step in making your dreams a reality? We all know that to create behavior change, it takes a long time, and that can be related to anything. So with my own business for wellness coaching, I work with clients on everything from sleep habits to stress to life balance, all kinds of topics. So it's not just eating your veggies and working out. Of course, those are things I'm very passionate about, but it's all areas of your life. And so I just encourage you, once you're ready to take that first step, please consider me. All of my clients are by referrals and word of mouth. I don't advertise. I just simply do things like this. I love sharing information, stuff like this. And so if you enjoyed today's webinar, I would encourage you to share it or ask me. I'd be happy to come to your workplace or your employer or do another lunch and learn with you all, or an afternoon presentation, whatever it would look like. But I enjoy sharing. This is what I do and how I get my name out, because again, all my clients are word of mouth and referrals. So if you're in a good place of your health and you don't need to make any changes, things are good for you. But if you know of someone who really could use some help, I just ask that you think of me and consider me. And again, Michelle will send out my contact information, so you have that with the notes from today's presentation, as well as the deskercise workout. So we are great on time. Whoops, sorry about that, guys. I will go back. But at this time, I would love questions if you've got any. So we'll go back to questions if you've got any.
Thanks so much, Liz. This was a great presentation, and you shared a lot of really wonderful information. We had comments that, the pairing concept is really great, and using non-threatening words to help encourage people can make a big difference. We did have a question when you were sharing the deskercise. Do you have any resources for people who might have injured knees, or, they're just less stressful things for if you have injuries that you can share with us?
Absolutely. So great question. Thanks for voicing that, Michelle. If you are injured or recovering from injury or even illness, I would suggest going with your current state of health. Taking it easy. You're not out to do anything crazy, but just taking your time. The reason squats are great, even if you're recovering from an injury, is it is the motion you do when you need to use the restroom. And what I also encourage my older clients to do, I have women right now that I'm working with in their 60s, even worked with a man in his 70s, is you want to keep your independence as you age. And especially for women, we want to maintain our bone density, things like that. So squats are great. You're not going to hurt your knees. You're not going to, now if you start adding weight and doing crazy things in the gym, sure, you may have a little risk there. But simply doing simple squats are one of the best things you can do because you want to, again, maintain that independence. And part of it is being able to get up and down from your seat, whether it's the couch, whether it's getting in and out of the car, a lot of things. And squats are a great way to keep that strength in your body to be able to do that. So I would highly encourage that. Also, water. If you have access to a swimming pool, anything in the water with water resistance is a great way. So if you are recovering from an injury or surgery, anything in the water is fantastic to build strength as well as endurance. And it doesn't have to be swimming. You could walk in the pool. The water aerobics classes are hard. So I know people, I used to be one of them, used to kind of roll my eyes and think, that's for the blue-haired ladies. Oh no, those are tough. So hopefully those are some tips. And whoever did ask that question, feel free to follow up, phone, email, if you have more questions about what that could look like. I'd be happy to help you out.
Thank you. That's great. And then we had another question. If somebody is already extremely active, so they're exercising and doing all of the cardio and lifting and everything you can do outside of work, so their body is kind of used to working out a lot, should they do the deskercise activities for more than 5 minutes? Is there would they see a better benefit from doing it longer, or does it matter?
I think the word I'm looking for is consistency. I would say someone who's already fit and athletic, whether it's endurance or strength training, to just continue to maintain that. And so whatever system you set up for doing the 3S's or the deskercise, so my answer would be challenge yourself. Yes, if a person is already really strong, they're going to be bored. They don't want to do lifting water bottles. That's going to bore them, or lifting a ream of paper. So then I would say, yeah, lift 2 or 3 reams of paper. Do something more comparable. And then with squats, I would challenge that person. They could do pistol squats, which is a squat on one leg. That's a way to challenge them. High heels, I would take that if it's a woman, take off the heels for pistol squats. Don't do that. But so yes, they could challenge themselves that way with weight. But again, if it's during the workday, you don't want to get sweaty or hot. But you could definitely increase that. And if that person too has more questions of, well, what would that look like, I'd be happy to kind of create a harder workout. This one was pretty easy. I wanted to keep it simple, just for simple range of motion. But again, if that person has more other questions, I'd love to follow up with them too.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions that people have?
I would love to, if there's not more questions, jump in with those, Michelle, if you see any. I would love to hear from, if there are any people today that have things already set up in place by their employer, whether it's standing workstations. Another client I have told me about their employer that sounds really neat. They have a chirp system set up on their phone system at work. So the phones will chirp every 45 or 60 minutes, and that's the whole alert for the whole office to get up and stand and move around. So it was a really brilliant idea that they set up with the phone system. So I'm just curious if there's anyone on who already has things in place for wellness at their desk, or who's heard of the 3S's, who tries it, or what things are already in place. Would love to hear from you if that's you.
People might be thinking and typing in their responses, but I can share a little bit
Yeah,
while we're waiting.
sure.
I hear from a lot of businesses. One thing that we do internally, though, is the idea of the walking meetings, and just one thing for us to do a check on whether we actually need to be in the building or if we can go outside. So if it's a presentation and we need a PowerPoint, obviously we'll be in the room, but we make sure that people are free to stand around and walk around the room if they need to. But if you don't have to write anything down, I think we have a lot of meetings that are just brainstorm sessions. We always assess on, whether we actually need a piece of paper or not. And if we don't, we go walk outside. And even if we do need to write it down, we say, okay, let's take 15 minutes at the beginning and get everything on paper and then go outside and talk about it. So that's just one way that we check in with each other for getting movement, and especially utilizing the time. I feel like we're in back-to-back meetings all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people have stand-up desk options or adjusting desks. And he said they have lots of stretching. An alarm goes off on the phone, and they get to do a set of stairs a couple times during the day, and then office chair squats.
Excellent. Those are great.
And employees also challenge each other with healthy habits, especially for movement with some fun prizes. Somebody said that they decorated their stairway and put contests up for going up and down. They have offices
Oh,
on the third floor.
yes, I heard that from another client. Their employer puts trivia in the stairwells. And so you have to go in the stairs to get the trivia, and then to submit your answer, you have to walk to the HR department and submit your answer there. But they do weekly trivia in the stairwells.
That's fun. I've also been to a
Yeah.
place where they had a competition, and they allowed all of the children of the workers and the employees to submit artwork, and then they had an artist come and transfer all of the artwork onto the wall. So their stairwells are full of drawings from all of the kids, which is really cool.
Oh, great. Neat. Good. Well, as we're wrapping up, if you see anything else, jump in, Michelle. But to everyone else, thank you again for joining me today. Michelle will send out my contact information, but in case you want it handy, I realized my first goob, well, there's been a few goobs, but I should have had that on that slide here. My phone number is 720-600-7549. So feel free to call. Old-fashioned phone works great. My email is Liz, L-I-Z, at foreveryoungcoachingllc.com. So again, Liz at foreveryoungcoachingllc.com. And again, thank you, Michelle, for sending out the handouts and the deskercise workout.
Yes. Thank you again, Liz, so much for your time and for your presentation. And thank you, everybody, for jumping on during your lunch hour as well. I hope everybody got some tips and tricks to go out the rest of the day and move and get some activity in and keep it up from here on out. And like Liz said, I will be sharing information and send out the handouts in a follow-up email. And then you can also find information on our website at healthlinkscertified.org. We'll wrap it up. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great day.